Every agent wonders if he or she will do it.
We're focused on our mission. Sure, it's difficult, but that's our job.
We have to make a decision. It's a split-second decision.
He or she may have to lay down his or her life for the president.
You have to know inside that you're willing to make that commitment to get in the line of fire.
One of the most visible jobs performed by the Secret Service is that of protection, especially protecting the residents of that house. Hello, I'm Bob Snow, former Assistant Director with the United States Secret Service. For over 25 years, my duties included protection, criminal investigation, and administration for the service. Most recently, I was the technical advisor on the movie In the Line of Fire. That's a movie that dispels many of the myths about the Secret Service and deals with the day-to-day problems of the agent. In the Line of Fire is the first motion picture produced with the active cooperation and participation of the United States Secret Service. Clint Eastwood stars as Secret Service agent Frank Horrigan, the only agent still active who was on duty in Dallas, Texas the day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Horrigan is still haunted by his failure to fulfill his protective mission.
He's a man who's been somewhat successful, but at the same token, he's had an incident in his life that didn't work out so well.
You're looking at a living legend, Lily. The only active agent who ever lost a president.
I love to play flawed characters. I love to play characters that have something they have to overcome within themselves, as well as overcoming the obstacle of the antagonist.
30 years after Dallas, Horrigan gets caught up in a lethal cat-and-mouse game with a potential presidential assassin played by John Malkovich. The assassin discovers Horrigan's past and begins to taunt his adversary.
Oh my God. That's you.
Through a series of tense phone calls, the assassin lures Horrigan into his deadly game.
McCrawley?
Why not call me Booth?
Why not Oswald?
Because Booth had flair, panache. But leaped to the stage after he shot Lincoln.
This time, history must not repeat itself. To protect the president from the assassin's lethal plan, Frank Horrigan is prepared to sacrifice his own life.
It's a strange mentality, too, the Secret Service. What kind of person would actually want to throw themselves in front of somebody that they might not even like? But that's part of their duty, to protect.
Gun! Get down! Get down!
In the Line of Fire was directed by acclaimed German filmmaker Wolfgang Petersen, who takes audiences inside one of the most tight-lipped agencies in federal law enforcement. With the assistance of the Secret Service, the filmmakers took their cameras to the streets of Washington and also recreated the world of presidential travel, where a virtual army of police, agents, and others are put on the road to safeguard the president. To many, the Secret Service is an elite corps which holds great interest for outsiders.
Secret Service is a fascinating word for me. These guys who sort of blend with the furniture, sunglasses, they all look alike, all in these suits. What makes them tick? Why do they do that? What's the motivation? If you see them on television, they're always sort of so, invisible.
Agents have to seem invisible. Their primary responsibility is protecting the president. Frank Horrigan understands and takes his responsibility seriously, and yet is a bit of a maverick who may be out of touch with the more sensitive demands of the job.
The president came off looking like a coward on national television.
I thought he came off all right. You were the one that came off like the damn coward.
This is just a joke to you?
No, you're a joke to me, Harry. You have no idea what we do around here.
That's enough, Horrigan. You call me Harry one more time, you'll be busting counterfeiters in Alaska. You keep him away from the president, away from the White House, and you sure as hell better keep him away from me.
You talk to the White House chief of staff like that?
I don't work for him.
To completely understand this world and to convey the agent's commitment to duty, the filmmakers relied on the experiences of actual agents.
You've just got to respond instantly. No matter what the president thinks, no matter what's going on outside, you've got to respond.
If it comes to the point that you can't respond to the threat there, that you've got to move to your protectee.
If and when that time comes where you have to give the ultimate sacrifice, I think every agent's prepared to do that because of basic training.
Assume that responsibility in your own heart, and you hope to God that when the time comes that you'll be able to perform as you have been trained.
Each phase of the production for In the Line of Fire was approached from the agent's point of view.
Credibility. Make it as real as possible. I was adamant about it from the very beginning.
Well, it's probably the most realistic view of how the Secret Service works, just in their daily activities. I mean, the sort of the reality of it, and also ultimately the heroism that's involved.
This was kind of unique to us, that somebody wanted to come in and wanted to lend the level of realism and to accurately portray what we do.
Nothing could be more real than the experiences of Agent Frank Horrigan.
He was one of the agents, very young at that time, standing on the follow-up limousine where the agents were following Kennedy's limousine.
He does feel a sense of regret for that day, and the movie is really about redemption for not having done more that day.
Oh, that was a beautiful day. The sun was out. Been raining all morning. The air was first shot sounded like a firecracker. I looked over and I saw him. I could tell he was hit. If only I reacted, I could have taken that shot. That would have been all right with me.
Horrigan's adversary, whose real name he learns is Mitch Leary, plots his moves carefully and plans to strike with deadly force.
Why kill the president?
To punctuate the dreariness.
His view of the world, I think, is fairly clear. That, the world is no good and he's been betrayed, and he's trained and capable of doing something to exact a price for that betrayal.
What do you see when you're in the dark and the demons come?
I see you, Frank. I see you standing over the grave of another dead president.
That's not going to happen.
It's cat and mouse, but Leary feels that he's got the upper hand. He's playing out a game, and it's obviously giving him great satisfaction.
Horrigan believes Leary's twisted plan is real, and he begins to track the potential killer, working closely with Special Agent Lily Raines. Actress Renee Rousseau actually studied with female agents, which helped add to the realism of her character.
I sort of had some preconceived ideas that maybe these would be pretty tough women, but it ran the gamut, it really did. They didn't want me in a skirt. They wanted to make sure that I had pants on, that I had the right kind of shoes on, and that I had the right attitude.
Hello?
Lily? Secretaries get prettier and prettier around here.
And the field agents get older and older.
I think that she falls in love with his humor, and I think that she's probably used to being around men who take themselves very seriously, and he doesn't.
Would you care to dance?
Perhaps some other time.
I get off in a couple hours.
What are you looking at?
I was just wondering where you hide your firearm. Don't tell me. Let me guess.
You've probably never seen him that vulnerable, that endearing with a woman.
So if I'm here to court the feminist vote, what demographics do you represent?
See, white piano-playing heterosexuals over the age of 50. There ain't a whole lot of us, but we do have a powerful lobby.
Okay, well, thanks for the ice cream. See ya.
You're welcome.
If she looks back, that means she's interested.
Well, Abe, damn, wish I could have been there for you, pal.
In the movie, Clint Eastwood plays a veteran agent who understands that someday he may be called upon to make the ultimate sacrifice. But how do you train a person for that type of physical and emotional commitment?
Most people, when they hear a gunshot, their first impression is to flinch or to get out of the way. Ours is just the opposite.
We're going to do the kind of response that's not normal. It's to stand up. And it's so driven into you because of your training and what's going on.
And more training. It's not something that comes naturally.
It's an awesome job. And I think most of us are happy when the shift's over.
The extensive training received by the Secret Service agent starts right here at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, Glencoe, Georgia. Forward, down! Protection is only one of the various duties performed by the Secret Service. Like all other federal law enforcement agencies, the Secret Service embraces a wide spectrum of duties that begins with a firm grounding in investigative techniques. Since many of these future federal agents will work on undercover assignments, their identity is hidden on this footage of their training exercises.
The basic training that a Secret Service agent receives here would lay the foundation for the sort of agency-specific mission, the esprit de corps, the commitment that that agent would have to the service itself as well as to the mission of the service.
I guess being an agent is basically being a criminal investigator with protective responsibilities, and we take those very, very seriously.
For future agents, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia is boot camp, the first stop on the way to the James J. Rowley Training Facility in Beltsville, Maryland. At Rowley, the training is specific for the demands of the Secret Service. Unofficial visitors are not permitted within the Rowley compound, but the Secret Service has allowed this footage of exercises to be seen for the first time. The agent's skills are honed and sharpened with tactical driving drills, advanced firearms training, and exercises designed to quicken reflexes, especially when it comes to protecting the president.
All the training that we received as young agents, by the time you reach a protective detail or work a protective movement, your responses are pretty much natural. There's no thinking about what you're going to do.
In this training exercise, called Attack on the Principal, agents learn to quickly remove their protectee from immediate danger. The training, the responses, and the instinct to spot that peculiar element which seems out of place in a crowd are abilities that have evolved with the Secret Service over time. But human actions are unpredictable, and for nearly 130 years of American history, there have been the occasional loners who have lashed out against the system and the presidency with deadly consequences. April 14th, 1865 is a date that changed America forever. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. by John Wilkes Booth. What it meant was that the office of the presidency could become the target for the actions of a madman. Claiming to be a senator, John Wilkes Booth easily gained access to President Lincoln's theater box. While some believe that Booth's actions were guided by the hand of the devil, nobody believed that such a terrible fate would await future presidents. Less than 20 years later, President James Garfield would die at the hands of an assassin. In 1901, there was still no organized protection for the president, when William McKinley was shot by a man who claimed to be an anarchist. McKinley died 2 days later. His successor, President Teddy Roosevelt, used White House funds to pay for Secret Service protection, then the only general law enforcement agency within the government. In 1909, President Taft received the first congressionally legislated protection. From that time on, no matter where presidents traveled, the Secret Service was close at hand.
We lost the president. But how did I feel? Well, I felt we were responsible. And I think a lot of agents felt we're responsible. And we never forgot it. A whole generation of agents, and you talk to them individually, you can get them to talk, were affected by that.
An assassin, like a Secret Service agent, sometimes is willing to sacrifice his life.
We've got so much in common. We're both willing to trade our lives for the president.
I think it's quite simply put, anyway, by what he says about what Kennedy himself said about an assassin, which is all you have to do is be willing to trade your life for his.
I have a rendezvous with death. Oh, and so does the president. And so do you, Frank, if you get too close to me.
You have a rendezvous with my ass, motherfucker.
Frank, do you know how easily I could kill you, Frank? Do you know how many times I've watched you go in and out of that apartment? You're alive because I have allowed you to live. So you show me some goddamn respect!
If there aren't assassins, you don't really need a Secret Service. So, I mean, the two obviously live for each other, exist for each other.
He's sort of a counterpart to Horrigan. And he's had a lot of problems, but he's actually become psychotic. And Horrigan's disenchanted, not necessarily with his agency, but just with the breaks, the way they've come for him.
The filmmakers were interested in understanding the demented mind of an assassin. They also studied how an assassin can strike with lightning speed. March 30th, 1981 was the model.
I heard 2 shots, followed by a small gap in time, and then 4 quick shots. At the first shot is sort of a startle effect, but that starts the game in the Secret Service. If you can call it a game, it's a deadly game. All those shots were fired in 1.48 seconds, all of them. We had him in the car and the door shut in 3 seconds. I was in on top of him, told the driver to leave. So within 9 seconds, we were really moving away from the scene in an armored car. Point is not to reopen the door. The point is to cover and evacuate. That may be unmacho, but that's what you've got to do when you're working that perimeter.
Jerry Parr was among several agents credited with saving President Reagan's life. Metropolitan Police Officer Thomas Delahanty was hit, as was Presidential Press Secretary James Brady. Secret Service agent Tim McCarthy was also shot in the line of duty.
And in slow motion, you see one agent, in particular, Agent Tim McCarthy, do a textbook version of what an agent is supposed to do. He turns his body directly broadside into the bullet. He actually takes a bullet in his stomach and falls over. And I think there are very few type of people who have any kind of sensibility to do something like that. And I think it's incredibly impressive.
You have not the feeling that they're just doing that kind of bodyguard job. They are highly trained people, and to take care that not a disaster comes to this country, and be kind of really ready to be a hero and sacrifice your life. That's something for me very American.
This guy's gonna make a try, and I've got to be there.
I'll have my day in the sun.
Why is it everyone who ever knew you said that you're a sick son of a bitch?
That president is coming home in a box.
That's not gonna happen.